first at 5 tonight, late for class. For students in Nova Scotia and PEI, the holiday break was extended until January 10th to help stop the spread of COVID-19. New Brunswick students were supposed to head back to class the same day, but will now learn online until at least January 21st.
Some parents welcome the return to in-class learning, while others would prefer the at-home model. But as CTV's Paul Hollingsworth shows us, no matter what school of thought you belong to, it's undeniably a stressful situation. Paul.
Katie and Maria, with each passing COVID wave, that level of stress seems to be growing to new heightened levels. When Sean McKenna found out Nova Scotia schools would not be switching to at-home remote learning, his reaction was...
I was fine with it.
His youngest son attends high school, and McKenna says he has concerns about the COVID-19 virus, but not to the point that schools should close temporarily.
They're working very hard to make sure everything's safe. I know that, myself, with my son going there, that they're not sending them into an area that I think is purposely not safe.
Being in school is where McKenna wants his son.
But I just think them being back in school, learning with their friends and whatnot is just good for their mental health.
Stacey Rutherham is the co-chair of Nova Scotia Parents for Public Education. Rutherham has 2 children in school, and she is calling on the government to take a closer examination of the issue before schools reopen next week.
The main concern that we seem to be hearing quite a bit from parents in the group is the fact that the information is being taken away from us.
Rutherham says parents are no longer being provided with thorough contact tracing information.
Parents are worried about there being cases in their schools and them not being informed about them.
She says families should be able to avoid exposure to the virus if possible.
Many parents are bringing up the fact that their children are either not fully vaccinated or have not yet gotten vaccinated.
It all boils down to fears that schools are unsafe.
We have concerns about the fact that kids can't socially distance, the fact that the ventilation issues haven't been rectified.
Psychologist Simon Sherry says the back-to-school issue is causing heightened anxiety at a time when the pandemic has already had a major impact on mental health.
There's so much more to health than just disease avoidance.
Sherry has a child in school, and he understands the concerns of many parents, but he also warns being COVID safe while staying indoors is not necessarily an ideal situation. Sherry says isolation and avoidance can lead to depression, anxiety, and stress.
I think it's time for parents and children alike to acknowledge that there are some tolerable risks around COVID-19.
Rutherham says there is another important factor to consider.
There are a lot of kids who can't go back to school because they do have immuno issues, they do have anxiety.
She argues many children are dealing with a variety of medical and mental health issues that result in school not being the ideal situation for them at this time. Rutherham also says a lack of resources and services in certain areas has caused some children to not be properly supported during the pandemic. She would like to see improvement in those areas in the not-so-distant future.